In a worst-case scenario, Moscow warns Ukraine's ongoing attacks on the Russian-controlled Zaporijia nuclear power plant may cause a far worse disaster for Europe than the current energy crisis. A Russian Defense Ministry official has warned. Igor Krylov, who heads Russia's nuclear, biological, and chemical defense troops, illustrated the likely worst-case scenario of a direct hit on Europe's largest nuclear plant during a briefing on Thursday. He showed journalists a map with plumes of radioactive material from the site reaching Poland, Slovakia, Romania, Moldavia, Belarus, and even Germany. He blamed Ukraine's Western backers for trying to downplay the danger of targeting the atomic plant and forgetting the lessons of the 1986 Chernobyl disaster in the 2011 Fukushima nuclear incident. So this is a map right here that if they have a radiation leak, you can see all the areas that it will affect, folks. It will not only affect Ukraine and Russia, it will affect the other countries. According to Krylov, both disasters involve the failure of support systems, the disruption of power supply, and partial and complete shutdown of the cooling systems, which led to overheating of nuclear fuel and the destruction of the reactor. The fallout of the Chernobyl disaster affected some 20 countries, folks, 20 countries, while causing 4,000 deaths, a major spike in cancer cases, and the permanent relocation of about 100,000 people. The effects of the Fukushima nuclear incident might seem insignificant at first glance, but up to 500,000 people have abandoned their homes, if not, or because of it, he noted. Our experts believe that the actions of the Ukrainian armed forces may cause a similar situation at the Zaporijia nuclear power plant, Krylov said. Strikes by Kiev forces could render the plant's cooling systems and other support infrastructure inoperable, which would lead to overheating of the core and, as a result, the destruction of the reactor units at the largest nuclear power plant in Europe, with a release of radioactive substances into the atmosphere, and they're spreading for hundreds of kilometers. Such an emergency will cause mass migration of the population and will have more catastrophic consequences than the looming energy crisis in Europe, the military official added. Moscow has accused Kiev of carrying out 12 attacks on the nuclear facility, which provides energy to both Russia and Ukrainian-controlled areas, since mid-July. So this is just one of many articles that we have, and I want to show you that, let me see if I can find it, that the head of the United Nations is made a trip over there, and if I can find the article, I'm just going to have to go down the list and see if I can find it. All right, here we go. So let me show you this. This is how serious this is, folks, that the world leaders are now warning Zelensky and his commanders, stop shelling the nuclear power plant. How crazy are you that you're going to try to blow up a power plant and you're going to radiate all of these countries around you, trying to make Russia look bad? So let's get the next article up. But I want to show you that the world leaders are now warning that this could happen, and this will, folks, be a false flag attack. They will blame it on Russia. Russia blew up their own power plant. So let's go ahead and read this. But we have other YouTube channels that are blaming Russia for shelling their own controlled power plant. So let me get this on the screen. I hope you can see this. UN Chief Guterres, or Guterres, Guterres, I don't know how to pronounce that, speaks for the demilitarization of Zaporijia nuclear power plant in Ukraine. So this is the head right here of the UN. Earlier, Antonio Guterres arrived in Odessa to hold talks on grain exports with Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky and Turkish leader Recep Erdogan. So this is the leader of the UN, has made a trip to Ukraine. The Zaporijia nuclear power plant in Ukraine needs to be demilitarized, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, man, I can't pronounce his name, said on Friday, first of all, what is true is that if it is demilitarized as we propose the plant, the problem will be solved. The UN's chief press office quoted him as saying to journalists upon a visit to the city of Odessa, obviously the electricity from the Zaporijia NPP is Ukrainian electricity, and it's necessary, especially during the winter, for the Ukrainian people, and this principle must be fully respected. Guterres arrived earlier in the day in the Ukrainian city of Odessa, where he is scheduled to hold talks on grain exports with Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky and Turkish leader Recep Erdogan. The Zaporijia NPP plan is under the control of the Russian army. Over the last few days, the Kiev regime has delivered numerous strikes against the station's territory using drones, heavy artillery, and multiple rocket launch systems. In most cases, the attacks are repelled by Russian air defenses. However, some rockets have hit the NPP's infrastructure facilities, including nuclear waste storage sites. The Zaporijia plant is the largest in Europe. It consists of 6 power units and has the capacity of about 6,000 MW. I don't know if that's megawatts. It used to generate a quarter of all electric power in Ukraine. So, folks, I'm going to leave all these articles in the description box, but listen, this provides a lot of power for Ukraine. So if Ukraine knocks out their own power plant, they're going to freeze. A lot of people's going to freeze this wintertime. They've already cut off Russian gas and oil. So it looks like the leaders of Ukraine are totally lost their mind. Yeah, let's blow up the power plant. Oh, that sounds really freaky. Let's blow it up and radiate the whole area. You know, I think he needs to get off of that cocaine. I really do. I think Zelensky and his group needs to quit doing drugs, sober up a little bit, and realize that they're going to destroy their country and probably a lot of countries around them if they continue to shell a nuclear power plant, folks. You know, totally nuts. So let's go on to another article. We're going to cover this story for a few minutes. But it's not good. You know, I mean, how crazy do you have to be to want to blow up or cause a radiation leak in your own country? So let me get this next article up on the screen for you. Now, Russia is claiming that this is all being perpetrated for a false flag. So I hope you can see this. But Russia's not shelling their own power plant, folks. If you believe that, then I got some swampland I'm going to sell you down in South Florida, or I'm going to sell you an igloo in the North Pole there. It says Russia claims Ukraine prepping false flag provocation at the Zaporijia nuclear plant as IAEA attempts access. Starting a week ago, the United States led the way at the United Nations Security Council special meeting and calls for a demilitarized zone around Ukraine's Zaporijia nuclear power plant. But on Thursday, Russia's defense ministry had again rejected such a possibility. Starting weeks ago, Ukraine said that some 500 Russian troops occupy the nuclear plant, which is Europe's largest, amid a tit-for-tat accusations of shelling on the facility and thus putting the sensitive site in danger of a nuclear incident. International Atomic Energy Agency, the IAEA Director General Rafael Grossi said this week that he stands ready to lead a delegation in person to inspect the plant. However, it is being reported that the Russian side has rejected this possibility, saying that such a mission would be too dangerous as Ukraine is continuing to shell it. At the same time, on Thursday, Russia's defense ministry has issued the most ominous and alarming claim yet regarding the deteriorating situation at the Zaporijia plant, alleging that Ukraine is currently engaged in plotting a false flag provocation and that any resulting catastrophe will be immediately blamed on Moscow. That's what I just said. Taking the allegation further, a military spokesman even named a date, Friday, August the 19th. Well, that's today, folks. They even named the date, Friday, August the 19th, as the day. It is expected to happen according to the Kremlin. Russia will be blamed for the man-made catastrophe, the Ministry of Defense spokesman warned. However, Ukraine and its Western allies have charged that if it is in reality Russian troops that are using the plan as a nuclear shield and so bear responsibility for any potential disastrous consequences. At this point, both sides are in essence charging the other with nuclear blackmail. So this is the news, folks, that there could be a major incident in Ukraine in the coming days. And I got something, let me see, I had another article, if I can find it. Okay, so both sides are blaming each other for the shelling, but why would Russia shell their own power plant that they control? Why would they want to radiate their soldiers and the whole area? There's no reason to do that. Why would Putin want to cause a nuclear incident? The only person it benefits is Zelensky, where he can go on TV and say, look what Russia's done. Oh, bad Russia. Look what bad Putin. He blew up a power plant. Now we're all going to be radiated. That's the only thing it benefits. It doesn't benefit Russia one bit to blow up a power plant. And why would you want to in the first place? I mean, why would you want to do that? So somebody's shelling it, folks. Somebody in Russia is claiming that Ukraine is doing it. And I'm saying that Ukraine is doing it. I don't believe that Russia is going to blow up their own power plant. Anyway, that's my opinion. You can disagree with me. I know a lot of people do. So let me get another article on the screen for you. We got a few more articles to cover on this subject, and we're going to move on. But let me show you that during the meeting of the UN chief, they even shelled it then. So let me get this on the screen for you guys. Kiev forces shell city hosting nuclear plant official. The reported artillery strike comes hours after the UN chief warned against such suicide attacks. Said Ukrainian forces once again targeted the Godar with artillery on Thursday night, according to Vladimir Rogov, a member of the local administration, who claimed at least 7 shells hit the Russian-controlled city that hosts the Zaporijia nuclear power plant, the largest such facility in Europe. Heavy artillery fire targeted the city around 10:50 local time, said Rogov, a member of the Russian military civilian administration in Ukraine's Zaporizhia region, on his Telegram channel. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres voiced concern about the situation around the nuclear facility earlier on Thursday, during his meeting with Ukrainian leader Vladimir Zelensky and Turkish President Recep Erdogan in Lviv. While he stopped short of blaming either side, Guterres has once again called to demilitarize the area, insisting that an agreement was urgently needed to establish Zaporizhia as a purely civilian infrastructure to ensure the plant's safety. So I don't know how this is going to end, folks, but if they don't stop shelling, then there could be a major incident. And it does look like that Ukraine shelled the plant right after the UN secretary left. So it looks like they're bound and determined to cause something, some kind of nuclear radiation leak. I don't know why, but, you can't reason with crazy people. Crazy people can't be reasoned with. So let me read you some of this article. This is from Hal Turner's even reporting on it. Zaporizhia nuclear power plant reports 6 to 8 explosions. So this is a picture of it. You can see the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 reactors in this plant, folks. This is the largest nuclear power plant in Europe. Operators of the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant in Ukraine are reporting 6 to 8 explosions near the plant as of 6 o'clock a.m. Eastern U.S. time On Friday, August the 19th, that is today, Russia said again that Ukraine is shelling the plant and a nuclear disaster could be created by that shelling. Russian air defenses are being used against the incoming attacks as shown in the video below. So here's the video. It does look like they're trying to shoot these missiles or projectiles down that's coming in. So this is crazy, folks. Ukraine has repeatedly denied shelling the plant and claims that Russia is shelling themselves at the plant to create a false flag event. All right, yeah, Russia's doing it. Whomever one believes, there is no doubt that the artillery shell hitting certain areas of a nuclear plant can result in a radiation disaster for the entire Eastern European region. The graphic below shows how radiation would travel today and into the weekend if a shell caused radiation leak. So let me play this video for you, but this is how the radiation would leak. So this is like a time lapse of how this would spread through Europe. And the problem, folks, listen. The problem with a meltdown of a nuclear reactor is way worse than an atomic bomb going off. You know why? Because these are spent fuel rods, and they're going to continue to give off radiation for 1,000 years. They're going to ooze radiation constantly. They're way different than a nuclear explosion. When a nuclear bomb is exploded, they use the uranium and the plutonium to cause an explosion. Well, the radiation from that only lasts a couple weeks, and the fallout eventually dissipates. And you can come back into that area after, I don't know how many months, but when a power plant melts down like Fukushima, that's a good example. Fukushima is still emitting radiation. It has radiated a lot of the water around Japan. It is still giving off radiation. And the problem is when a reactor melts down or you have a leak like this, that is going to continue to ooze and give off radiation for probably thousands of years. And that's what happened in Chernobyl. That Russia had to come in and they had to try to cap that and pour cement and contain the radiation leak. So when a bomb goes off during a war, yes, it's going to kill people, but the fallout eventually dissipates and people can come back into the area. Now, if a reactor melts down, then nobody's going to be in that area for hundreds of years or maybe even thousands of years, because unless you contain those fuel rods are still going to emit radiation unless you put them into a protective case or put them into water and keep them cool. So this is very serious, folks. It's very serious what is happening right now in Ukraine, and you can blame it on the Russians. I know a lot of people blame everything. 100% it's all Russia's fault. I just have a different opinion. So let's keep on going with the articles. I think I have a few more on this subject. So Emmanuel Macron and President Vladimir Putin had a phone call today, and they were discussing what is happening right now in Ukraine. So let me get this next article on the screen for you guys. So the whole world is now getting involved with this situation that is developing. Putin warns Macron of a catastrophe at the Ukraine nuclear power plant. Russian President Vladimir Putin and his French counterpart Emmanuel Macron called for an independent inspection at the Moscow-occupied Zaporijia nuclear plant, the Kremlin said in a statement on Friday. Putin stressed that the systematic shelling by the Ukrainian military of the territory of the Zaporijia nuclear power plant creates the danger of a large-scale catastrophe that could lead to radiation contamination of vast territories, according to the Kremlin. Both leaders called for experts of the International Atomic Energy Agency, the IAEA, to inspect the plant as soon as possible and to assess the real situation on the ground. The Russian side confirmed its readiness to provide the agency inspectors with the necessary assistance, the statement said. In a separate statement, the French presidency said that Macron supported the dispatch of a mission of experts from the IAEA to the site under the conditions agreed by Ukraine and the United Nations. Putin and Macron will speak again in the coming days on the subject after talks between the technical teams and before deployment of the mission. So they're trying to get a group of these inspectors to come in and to try to alleviate the situation. But I don't know if this is going to work, folks. I really don't. And there's been some strange activity, and I want to I want to bring you this other breaking news story. Hal Turner broke this news last night, and I want to show you what is going. Some strange corporate decisions have just happened in the last 48 hours. So let me get this on the screen. We're going to try to bring you up to date on all of this information that is coming in. But if you can read this, just read along with me. Strange corporate decisions this week. This happened yesterday. Earlier this week, I received 2 reports that Walmart had allegedly canceled billions of dollars in orders. I was not able to get more information, such as specific type of products or specific suppliers or specific country of origin. So since I couldn't verify it, I didn't report on it. Minutes ago, I got this. My wife works for Amazon Web Services, AWS, and they just canceled 40% of the marketing budget. They froze hiring and canceled all employee travel today. This was done on a video call about 50 minutes ago. Now, this article is from yesterday. I am endeavoring to verify it, so treat it as a rumor right now. But here's the thing. If these claims prove true, this is a major indicator of bad SHIT coming, especially the travel part. AWS has assets in China, Taiwan, and the Eastern Bloc countries. Ukraine. 2 days ago, I got word that U.S. NATO shipped 4 nuclear artillery shells to Ukraine. Word was that the Ukrainians were going to use those shells to hit the Zaporijia nuclear power plant. A nuke artillery shell would certainly be able to penetrate the reactor containment building, and even a relatively tiny nuke blast would rupture a reactor, causing a radiation leakage. But they claim that the fact that the nuke artillery shell will be used will be masked by the reactor leaking radiation. So Ukraine would blame the Russians for mishandling the reactor, causing it to blow up, when in reality, Ukraine caused it. I thought this was a bit over the top, especially since the U.S. unilaterally ended their nuclear artillery manufacturing and dismantled all their nuclear shells by the end of 2004. However, not all NATO countries did the same. So there is a possibility that there are a few nuclear artillery shells still around, and then if the U.S. NATO are actually the madman that I believe they are, then some numbskull might have actually come up with a plan like this, plausibility or plausible deniability, with a leaking reactor blamed for radiation caused by the blast of a nuclear artillery shell. So let's go on down. I have verified this claim. Now I looked at the alleged Walmart order cancellations. AWS, 40% marketing budget cut, hiring freeze, and employee travel ban, along with what I verified about the Russians at the nuclear plant being told to stay home tomorrow. And I start to wonder to myself, is the intel I got about the nuclear artillery shells factual, and is tomorrow or this weekend when the plant at Zaporijia gets hit. This is certainly within the realm of possibility that the big boys got a quiet warning to scale down ahead of something major. Walmart is incredibly connected with the U.S. government and might have gotten a sort of heads up that everything is going to SHIT this month, so they are planning accordingly and maybe cancel billions of dollars in orders. And Amazon WS or AWS has hundreds of millions of dollars in government contracts, so maybe they too got a sort of heads up and decided to cut their marketing budget and halt their employee travel. Then too, it was just this month, no less, that Henry Kissinger told a media outlet that things will escalate in mid-August, and now here we are. So this is the article from Hal Turner, and we reported on Henry Kissinger in our last broadcast. We told you that Henry Kissinger came forward and warned the world is on the verge of a nuclear war with Russia and China, and that things would heat up in the middle of August. We are in the middle of August, folks. This is the 19th of August. So